How did one of the most dominant centers of his generation become one of the NBA's most misunderstood superstars? When people talk about the greatest centers of the 2000s, one name always comes up: Dwight Howard. At his peak, he was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, an 8-time All-Star, and the best center in basketball. He led the Orlando Magic to the NBA Finals. He made Superman cool again, and for years, he looked like the player who would dominate the next generation. So why do many fans remember his career differently today? What really happened to Dwight Howard? Before Dwight Howard became Superman, he was a teenager from Atlanta with unbelievable athletic ability. In 2004, the Orlando Magic selected him with the first overall pick in the NBA draft. And unlike many top prospects, Dwight came straight out of high school. The expectations were enormous. Orlando had recently moved on from another superstar, Trace McGrady. Now, the franchise was betting its future on an 18-year-old center. From the very beginning, Dwight showed flashes of greatness. He rebounded, protected the rim, finished above the basket, and every season, he got stronger. By the late 2000s, Dwight Howard wasn't just improving. He had become the best center in basketball. By 2008, Dwight Howard wasn't just one of the best young players in the NBA. He had become the best center in basketball. Every night, Dwight controlled the paint, he protected the rim, dominated the glass, finished above the rim, and completely changed the way opposing offenses attacked the basket. At his peak, teams didn't just game plan for Dwight Howard. They built an entire offensive strategies around trying to avoid him. But Orlando wasn't built around Dwight alone. They surrounded him with shooters, which created one of the NBA's most difficult offenses to defend. Whenever the defense would collapse on Dwight, Orlando made them pay from three-point range. It was a style of basketball that was ahead of its time. Then came the 2009 playoffs. Orlando entered the postseason with championship aspirations, but standing in their way was one of the greatest players the NBA had ever seen. LeBron James had just won his first MVP award. Many expected Cleveland to reach the NBA Finals. But instead, Orlando shocked the basketball world. Behind Dwight Howard's dominance and Orlando's elite three-point shooting, the Magic defeated Cleveland in 6 games. For the first time since 1995, the Orlando Magic were headed back to the NBA Finals. It was the greatest moment of Dwight Howard's career. The kid from Atlanta had become the face of one of the NBA's best teams. Waiting for Orlando was Kobe Bryant, Paul Gasol, and the defending Western Conference champion Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers defeated the Magic in 5 games. Dwight Howard fell short of winning his first NBA championship. But at just 23 years old, almost everyone believed he would have many more chances. Unfortunately, basketball doesn't always follow the script. After reaching the NBA Finals in 2009, Orlando remained a good team, but they never made it back. Every season, expectations grew higher, and every season, the pressure grew heavier. The Magic were still winning games, Dwight was still playing at an elite level, but the championship window appeared to be getting smaller. Then, the rumors started. Questions about Dwight Howard's future became impossible to avoid. Would he stay in Orlando, or was it time for a new beginning? The situation became so complicated that fans gave it a nickname. For months, the story dominated NBA headlines. Reports changed almost daily. Trade talks, contract decisions, rumors, speculation. It became one of the biggest off-court stories in basketball. Then, in April 2012, another problem emerged. Dwight Howard suffered a serious back injury that required surgery. It ended his season, and it became one of the biggest turning points of his career. Even though Dwight would return, recovering from back surgery isn't something most athletes simply bounce back from. Then, one of the biggest trades in NBA history became official. The Lakers had assembled what looked like another super team. Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Paul Gasol, and now Dwight Howard. On paper, it looked unstoppable. Many analysts predicted that the Lakers would compete for another NBA championship. Some even expected them to reach the NBA Finals. But basketball isn't played on paper. Almost immediately, problems began to surface. Dwight was still recovering from back surgery. Steve Nash dealt with injuries. The team changed head coaches early in the season, and expectations remained sky high. There were also constant discussions about roles and playstyle. Kobe Bryant was still one of the league's best players. Dwight Howard was adjusting after a major injury, and the team never fully found the consistency everyone expected. The Lakers made the playoffs, but they entered as the 7th seed. Then, another devastating blow. Late in the regular season, Kobe Bryant would suffer a torn Achilles tendon. Without their leader, the Lakers' championship hopes disappeared. Los Angeles was swept in the first round by the San Antonio Spurs. The super team experiment had lasted only one season. Just 1 year after arriving in Los Angeles, Dwight Howard decided to leave. After leaving Los Angeles, Dwight Howard signed with the Houston Rockets. Once again, expectations were high. This time, Dwight teamed up with one of the NBA's brightest young stars, James Harden. Houston became one of the better teams in the Western Conference. Dwight was still an excellent rebounder, still a strong rim protector, and still capable of dominating stretches of games. In 2015, the Rockets reached the Western Conference Finals. It was Dwight's deepest playoff run since his Orlando days. Houston came back from a 3-1 deficit against the Clippers before falling to the eventual champion Golden State Warriors. It looked like Dwight had found another opportunity to compete for championships, but once again, things didn't last. By the middle of the decade, basketball itself was evolving. Teams were shooting more three-pointers than ever before. Centers were expected to switch onto guards, stretch the floor, and fit into faster-paced offenses. Dwight Howard entered the league during an era where dominant centers controlled the paint. Now the game was asking for something different. On top of that, Dwight was no longer the explosive athlete he had been in Orlando. The back injury had changed him. He could still contribute, but he wasn't the same player who once won 3 straight Defensive Player of the Year awards. Over the next several seasons, Dwight played for multiple teams: Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, Philadelphia. Each stop looked like another attempt to rediscover the role that once made him one of the league's biggest stars. As the years went on by, some fans began calling Dwight Howard washed. Others questioned whether he still belonged in the NBA, but Dwight wasn't finished yet. Then, an opportunity arrived that very few people expected. In 2019, Dwight Howard returned to the Los Angeles Lakers, but this time everything was different. He wasn't returning as the franchise superstar. He wasn't expected to carry the team. Instead, Dwight embraced something he had struggled to accept earlier in his career: a role. He defended, rebounded, protected the rim, set hard screens, and brought energy every time he stepped on the court. For the first time in years, basketball conversations about Dwight Howard became positive again. The Lakers reached the NBA Finals inside the NBA bubble, and after 16 seasons, Dwight Howard finally became an NBA champion. The championship didn't erase everything that had happened before it, but it completed one of the most unexpected redemption stories in recent NBA history. So, what really happened to Dwight Howard? The answer isn't that he suddenly forgot how to play basketball, and it isn't that one decision ruined his career. The truth is much more complicated. First, injuries. Dwight's back surgery in 2012 changed his career. While he remained productive afterward, he was no longer quite the same explosive athlete who had dominated the paint in Orlando. Second, expectations. When you're the best center in basketball, people expect greatness every single season. Anything less starts to feel like disappointment, even if you're still playing at a high level. Third, the NBA changed. The league shifted towards pace, spacing, and three-point shooting. Traditional centers had to adapt, and Dwight had to adapt with them. And finally, Dwight himself changed. As his career progressed, he went from being the centerpiece of a franchise to becoming a valuable role player on a championship team. That's not failure, that's evolution. Does that mean Dwight Howard had a perfect career? No. There were injuries, there were difficult seasons, and there were stops that didn't work out the way anyone hoped. But judging his entire career by those chapters ignores everything that came before them. For nearly a decade, Dwight Howard was one of the most dominant players in the NBA. He anchored elite defenses. He transformed the Orlando Magic into championship contenders. And at his peak, there was a legitimate argument that he was the best center in basketball. His story isn't just about what he lost. It's about everything he accomplished and how he found a way to reinvent himself when the game and his body changed. History usually remembers championships, but sometimes the real story is about resilience, about adapting, about refusing to let one chapter define your entire career. And that's what really happened. If you enjoyed this documentary, let's see if we can hit 20 likes on this video. If we reach that goal, episode 6, the season 1 finale of What Really Happened, is next. And trust me, it's going to be special. Allen Iverson, one of the most influential players in NBA history, you won't want to miss it. Also, let me know down in the comments, who's the most misunderstood player in NBA history? If you're new to the channel, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can never miss another episode of What Really Happened. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.